Had to. Sorry. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is definitely very much middle of the road when it came to the Disney Plus shows. It definitely didn't reach the heights of WandaVision that came before it, but it was definitely much better than a lot of the shows that came after it. If you've already seen my mini ranking of just the 5 shows that came out in 2020 and 2021, the Disney Plus shows, you know that this comes slap bang in the middle. Every amazing thing it does, it has a weaker moment. That being said, I definitely get more mileage out of this show than I think a lot of people did. Let's cover what I didn't like. The Carly Morgenthau villain was a little underdeveloped. Like, what made her character really work was everything sort of surrounding her, but her... I mean, it was definitely on the more compelling side of MCU villains, and definitely way better than the comic book source material of Carl Morgenthau. I can barely say that name. They set her up to be super sympathetic and super, like, you actually see her point that this is a genuine, the villain might be kinda right, they're just trying to find a place to live, like, post-clip, and this show actually deals with the effect of, this isn't about the population halving, this is about the population suddenly doubling. Suddenly billions of people are displaced, and they are trying to unite the world. I mean, it's a powerful goal. They completely botched that by doing that annoying bombing scene where like, oh no, we just remembered we actually need to make these guys the villain and make these guys the domestic terrorists. Like, the messaging is really muddy, and I guess one could argue that's kind of the point. Despite the sort of altruistic motives of these terrorists, their actions will always outweigh what they were trying to achieve on the scale of morality. I don't think the action is particularly great in this. It feels very, very hard to follow, which is really disappointing, especially when you've got Patroc the Leaper, like compared to like how easy to follow the Winter Soldier action was. Like Captain America the Winter Soldier, not Falcon the Winter Soldier. I also, this is me coming more onto the things I do love about this show, but I have to cover that. Yeah, Zemo is the best part of the show, right? Except this isn't the same Zemo. This is a much more... Like, I don't know if he's just chilled out when he's been in prison, but this is a far more reasonable version of Zemo than we got in Civil War. Civil War Zemo was willing to bomb the UN, was willing to commit these atrocities, was so black and white in superheroes are just bad, including Captain America. And in this one, he's far more witty, compassionate, and understanding of who Steve Rogers was as a character. Like, he even says Steve Rogers was an exception. He never made that exception before in Civil War, so it felt really out of character for him to even concede the idea that Steve Rogers was a good person now. Also, like, a major gripe with what they did with Zemo was the fact that they made him the Baron. They made him essentially royalty. Whereas what I loved about him in Civil War was the fact that he wasn't that. He had these special skills, but he was somewhat of an everyman. Devastated and vengeance and grief-stricken by the loss of his family. He says in Civil War that Sokovia was a failed state long before you blew it to hell. And in this, he's in charge of the country, essentially. Whose fault is it that it's a failed state? They do these really subtle but annoying retcons with the character. That being said, he is hysterical. Like, that meme, top-notch meme. They also kind of just brush past the whole purple. They're like, oh, we needed the purple mask that he wears, and then they just, like, they don't explain it. He just wears it for a bit and then takes it off. Like, no actual need, really. But he is funny, he is really charming. That whole conversation about Trouble Man, like, he's out of line, but he's right. Oh, there are some really funny moments. Now, moving away from Zemo, there are some powerhouse performances and some powerhouse writing in this show. Some amazing writing in this show. The whole Isaiah Bradley thing, oh my god, what a time to bring that up. Oh, that hit hard, and gave us a less black and white version of the events between Captain America getting frozen and modern day. This does a fairly realistic depiction of not only what America is like, but world politics is like, and how much they have discounted marginalized groups or tested. I mean, it really does not surprise me when you think about what happened. I mean, even just during the Second World War, human test subjects were just absolutely a thing. The whole Sam being reluctant to take the shield and then training with it, and them dealing with the fact that even as an Avenger, he is grappling with the fact that he is a black man, and also he's just grappling with the fact that he can't get credit and he can't support his family. Oh my god, Bucky! Oh, Bucky getting rid of the brain conditioning. His time in Wakanda. Like, Sebastian Stan's acting is just incredible in this show. Although sadly, I just remembered another gripe I had with this show. They introduced the idea that the reason he befriends this Japanese elderly man can is because he killed his son, and he's trying to get through his list and trying to repent for all that, and he can't bring himself to explain what happened. And they bring it up in episode 1. And in the final episode, they just sort of go, oh yeah, we'll have that scene where he explains it. We don't get to hear that conversation, it's just sort of like glazed over at the end. That should have been most of the character arc. What the heck? Like, much more of that, please. I don't know, this is just, it's such a mixed bag, and I can absolutely visualize how the show is just a bit frustrating. But I still definitely enjoyed it a lot more than most people did, and I can definitely look past a lot of the flaws, but I don't think I'm rushing to rewatch it, given how muddied it is. The character assassination of Sharon Carter is another small gripe. I'm actually realizing how many more gripes I actually have with the show now I'm just talking about it. A+ for the memes, B- or C for the rest of the show, and it's right. Also A+ for the acting.